guys, what's up? My name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel Reading with Rummy. Today I thought I would bring you my top 10 books of the year so far, or that was the idea. So basically I have a book tracker and my handy dandy book tracker was telling me that I have 10 5-star reads so far for this year, so I thought it'd be fun to do a top 10. One of those is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows because I just finished my reread this year and that got 5 stars, so I'm not really going to talk about this in this video other than just right here, kind of glancing over it. Just to let you know that that was one of my 5-star books, but there's no need to really talk about that because almost everyone knows what Harry Potter is, so we're just gonna roll right on through. So the first 3 books that I'm going to talk about are all in the same series, so I'm just going to do them all at one time, even though I read them very spread out throughout this year. Actually, the first one is the first book I read this year, and I only just recently finished the series, so it took me a little bit of time, but they all got 5 stars. And that is the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Heir of the Empire is the first one, Dark Force Rising, and then The Last Command is the last one. This is a trilogy set in the original Star Wars canon, so the canon that was in effect or recognized up until The Force Awakens was released years ago. It's been a while now, which is crazy to think. But anyway, so this is following Han, Luke, and Leia after the end of Return of the Jedi. So yeah, I really enjoyed this series. Obviously, it got 5 stars across the board. I think it may just be nostalgia that really fueled this to 5-star range, but these books were so much fun to read, and I read them all on Audible, and they all had sound effects like TIE fighters and guns going off, and it was just so much fun to listen to. I also am a hardcore Leia fan, and I loved that they kind of delved into her Force sensitivity, and she was actually a trained Jedi in these, which was super fun. So loved that, and of course loved her relationship with Han. Luke got his own love interest, which was really cool as well. She's kind of fun. This series is incredibly expansive. This is just one trilogy in a massive story arc known as The Legends. And there are so many books that I have not even touched in this that I really want to. I actually recently bought one called Outbound Flight, which takes place before this series that I'm really looking forward to reading. So yeah, definitely recommend these if you love Star Wars. I'm pretty sure I've talked about them quite often on my channel, but if you haven't heard about them before, here you go. You're welcome. You should pick them up. So yeah. Alright, so the next book that I'm going to talk about is actually the one that I just finished, and it was so cute and adorable I had to give it 5 stars. And that is the Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. I'm assuming it's O'Neill. This is the Owl Crate edition. We got it back in 2018, I believe is the publication date for this edition, which would be when we got it because it's the Owl Crate exclusive. But yeah, this is such a cute, fun graphic novel about tea dragons and the people who raise them, and it's just really cute. I'm going to show you kind of briefly the art style. Hopefully that doesn't spoil anything, but I just thought this had a really cute art style and a really sweet story, and I couldn't resist. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I really want to read the rest of the series now. Alright, so the next one I'm going to talk about is the conclusion of a series that I read almost entirely this year. I read the first one a couple years ago and finally came back to the series and finished it this year, and that is The Raven King, which is book 4 in the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Kind of like a shout out, honorable mention to the rest of the series that all received 4 stars or higher. I believe when I originally read this, I gave The Raven Boys 5 stars, so it's definitely a series that I've really enjoyed. I can't tell you too much about it because it will spoil it because this is the last book in the series, but basically this series is about a group of kids, 4 boys and 1 girl to be exact, and they are basically trying to find Glendower, who is this king who died really long time ago, the Welsh king. And the legend is that if you wake him up, he will grant you a wish, and so all of them are after this wish for different reasons, but they all kind of band together and go on the quest together. So this was a really fun story. It was very emotional in parts that I didn't expect it to be, and it deals with a lot of tough topics in some places, which was really refreshing and just fun to read about. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this series. Alright, this next book I actually read all in one day. Not in one sitting, mind you, but all in one day, which is not something that I do very often, although this is told in verse, so that makes it a little bit easier. And that is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a really beautiful, poignant story that I was not expecting. I honestly cried when I read it. It was just something that really struck me, but it's a very powerful book about a girl, and she's raised in a Catholic family, but she's very loud and out there, and it's all about her basically not letting anyone tell her who she can be or letting anyone try and take advantage of her for her body because she's a woman. And I just thought it was very powerful and I really enjoyed it. Alright, the next book that I'm going to talk about is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a sci-fi thriller, heavy on the sci-fi, very heavy on the sci-fi. This deals with our protagonist, who is a professor at a college, and one night he is coming home from the bar and he gets mugged and basically shoved into a car and driven to a location and forced to go in to like this room, and he doesn't really know what's happening, and then he wakes up and comes out the other side in a world where people know him but he does not know this version of himself, and it's all about him trying to get back to his family. It was a very interesting story. I've never read anything like this before, and it was very intriguing to me. I really, really loved the world and the concept that Blake Crouch created, and it was just a really powerful, very interesting story about what people are willing to do to get to what they think is their ideal future. So it was very, very interesting. If you have not read this, you totally should. This was my first kind of crack into thrillers, and it was really, really fun, and it's gotten me very interested in reading a lot of other thrillers, so definitely would recommend. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Autobiography by Christina Lauren. I've talked about this a little bit on my channel before, so I'm not going to talk about it too much more because I'm pretty sure I've already explained a lot about this, but this is basically about Tanner, and he is kind of tricked or coerced by his best friend Autumn into joining the school's prestigious writing class. Basically, in the seminar, the school teaches you to write a book in a year, like the whole process, write a book in a year, and basically the winner, or the one that the teacher likes the best, gets the chance to be up for a publishing contract. And this year the teacher has like a teacher's aide, and it is the winner of last year's, and his book has gone on to be a sci-fi success, and he's on a book tour. So in between his book touring, he helps out in the class, and from the minute Tanner meets Sebastian, which is the teacher's aide, they have a connection, and it's all about them falling in love and trying not to fall in love because they are in a very Mormon society that frowns upon being gay, and it's just very... It was a really sweet and heartfelt story about not letting where you come from or your family try and define you, and being able to love who you want to love. And I just thought it was really sweet and lovely, and it's definitely made me want to read more Christina Lauren. These characters are so sweet, and you just root for them from the beginning, so it was very entertaining. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is one that sat on my TBR for so long, and it's so embarrassing, but I finally read it, and I loved it, of course. And that is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a historical fiction set in France in the 1940s during the height of World War II, and it follows our main character, who is blind, and basically she flees Paris with her father at the beginning of the war, and what she doesn't realize is that her father is carrying a precious stone that the museum in Paris is trying to keep out of the hands of the Nazis. And so there's all this like almost kind of like a thriller element to the story, where she has basically spent her time in the war trying to keep this gem hidden from German soldiers who have invaded the coastal town that she has fled to, and she ends up living with her uncle because her father returns to Paris at one point and is stopped by the Nazis, and he never comes back to her. So it was a very beautiful story. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I knew I would like it, but I didn't expect to be blown away with it in the way that I was. But Anthony Doerr just has such a way with his words and his atmosphere, and it was so beautiful and so heart-wrenching, and it was just amazing. If you have not read All the Light We Cannot See, I definitely recommend for kind of like breaking into adult historical fiction, because I feel like it is an easier one because the story is so fast-paced and moving, so you don't really get caught up in all the extra details that you can find a lot of times in adult historical fiction. So I really enjoyed this, and it's definitely made me want to pick up other things like The Nightingale. Alright, so that's it for this video. These are the 9 books I've read this year that got 5 stars, and of course the 10th one was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, but I'm not going to talk about that here. So yeah, these were the 9 that I read that I really enjoyed. So if you guys have read any of these, let me know in the comments what you thought of them, if you agreed with me, if you disagreed with me. I'd love to chat with you about it. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe for more awesome content. I put videos out every Tuesday and Friday, so I'll see you guys in another video soon.